Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laron, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaron.com. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to episode 58. 58 episodes in, that is awesome. Put a year on the writer's journey and now we are 6 more episodes into the second year of the podcast. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about a couple of things actually. So in the last episode, I gave a quick update that Shadow Deal was out, book one in my Good Necromancer series, and huge thanks to those of you who went out and grabbed it to support me, and I hope you're enjoying reading it. The launch has been great. It hasn't been as eventful as I thought it would be. I had some issues with some of my ads and just with moving and all that. I just haven't been able to put the mental attention into that. So in the next week or so, I'm going to be putting some more attention into all of that. So, but the launch is going. It's a pretty quiet launch, not too many sales, but it's a book one and it's a brand new pen name. I kind of expected that, so I'm not terribly concerned. And I also talked about how I was in the process of moving. So my wife and I, literally the day after last week's episode podcast went live, found out that we're good to go on our house. Our appraisal came back fine. All the inspection stuff came back fine. And so we are set to close and move in about 4 days, which is super cool. I'd say we've been a little bit ahead of the curve on this. So we started packing up our house a few days ago, and we've got about 45% of the house packed. Packing is weird because, you can pack a lot of boxes and stuff, but it still feels like you've done nothing. But it hasn't been as agonizing as I thought it has been. We've pretty much got most of our stuff packed up. It's just a lot of big stuff and a lot of like knick-knacky stuff that it's kind of weird to put in a box because they got weird shapes or they're really tiny things. And so we're going to work through that. And we've got one last weekend to kind of get everything in order before we get it all on the moving truck and move into the new place. And so next week with the Writer's Journey, I should be able to upload an episode on Thursday because we should be moved in by then. And I think the internet should be hooked up by then, but you never know with internet companies. They're supposed to come, I think, Wednesday to hook up internet. So in the weird chance that there's any, internet issues, the podcast may be late. But don't worry about that. I shouldn't have any issues recording and getting all that. So I'm transferring my microphone myself, so I will ensure that it will not get broken and that the quality of the podcast will not suffer as a result of the move. So many thanks to those of you who have been following along, especially my YouTube subscribers, because I have gone on a bit of a mini break with YouTube. So my YouTube subscribers have not had a video in about a week or so, and it will probably be another 2 to 3 weeks before they see something. So I apologize. I wanted to do a video to announce that, but just with everything going on lately, I just wasn't able to. And I didn't even talk about this, but I had law school finals last week, so I had to get that done. I had a paper I had to do and all this other stuff. So YouTube will be back, and I've actually been thinking about some ideas for my YouTube studio. So I've talked about how when I first started Author Level Up, I did a white background. It was kind of like the Apple commercial look. I'd like to go back to that. I've looked into some different options for creating a set and all that, and some of the options were just a little impractical, I should say. Like there was one idea that I really liked, but it just didn't make sense. So the studio that I'm moving into, it's in our basement, but the biggest issue with it is that it is unfinished, and so I have found, it's just in my personal experience, that unfinished basements, at least in homes, don't tend to look very good on camera, just because you've got concrete walls, you've got ceiling joists that are exposed, and there's some people that can pull it off, but this particular space, I've done enough video and have enough experience with this to know that it's probably not going to look the greatest if I just were to use the actual natural setting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a white background, but because I have a little bit more space, I'm actually going to do a white background with a set. So at least that's what I'm thinking right now in my head. So I've seen some other YouTubers do it. It's a pretty rare thing to see. So I don't think I'd really be copying anyone too much if I did this. But I might have like a bookcase or something in the background and have a chair that I sit on and all that. So I would actually be in a set, but it would look like I have a background and all of that. And I think that'll look a little bit more professional. The content itself of the videos aren't going to change because I've heard loud and clear from my subscribers that they like the content and they like how deep and nitty gritty I get into things. So that's not going to change, but I know that if I want to continue to grow my YouTube channel and continue to make videos that people are going to find relevant and that they're going to like, I've got to do a better job of upping the visual quality of the videos. So I'm really excited for that. And the great part about it is it's really not going to cost me very much. Like I already have most of the things that I need in order to create it. So it's just a matter of getting it done. So that's YouTube. So thank you for those of you who follow me on YouTube. Just be a couple more weeks yet, but I think the result is going to be good. And I forgot to announce that there has been a change over at the Ask Ally podcast. So as you guys know, I do a podcast once a month as a service to the Alliance of Independent Authors, Ally for short. They're a nonprofit organization whose sole goal is to help authors put their best foot forward, publish quality products, and get up-to-date and accurate information on what's going on in the industry and reputable vendors. And, I've been with Ally for about 2.5 years now. And the main thing that I do for them, just because I just feel like it's so important to give back, is I have been doing podcasts. So I've done a number of podcasts with them, but the one that I'm doing right now is called the Ask Ally Member Q&A podcast. And really what it is members of Ally, paying members, it's a membership. They basically have the ability to send in questions to a form, and then we basically will answer those questions on the air. And I know a number of you listening to this actually listen to that other podcast, so thank you very much for doing that. And I know some of you have asked questions, so I recognize my subscribers. So you guys have asked questions and have asked really great questions, actually. So I answer those on the air or on this podcast once a month. And I've been doing that previously with Dan Blank of We Grow Media, and Dan is really awesome, and he's been great. He's moved on to another project within Ally, and so now I have the opportunity and the privilege to podcast with Orna Ross, who is the founder of Ally. And Orna recruited me for this role 2.5 years ago, and I don't really have that much contact with her, and so it's kind of nice to have an additional touch point with her every month. And one of the other big change is that we actually are broadcasting live now. So we're broadcasting live on Facebook. So if any of you would like to hear the show live, I will drop a link to the most recent show, and be sure you can join for free. Anyone can do this. Anyone can join the email list for Ally to get notified when we go live. So it's, I think, the first or second Saturday of every month, and it's right around 7 o'clock Central Time. So for those of you in the States, it's a little early, but just remember it goes out syndicated in the podcast. But the great thing is that you can ask questions live as well. So if any of you are interested in that, be sure to check that out. And if all that weren't enough, I have actually been writing, believe it or not. So I had law school tests, and I had moving, and all kinds of other stuff, but I have been writing, and I decided to go with this dictionary / encyclopedia that I've been teasing on the podcast for a little bit. So it's an encyclopedia for the beginning or the newer indie author that basically has a list of terms and definitions and little articles of things that they need to know. So most indie authors are going to know the basic terms, right? Like, I'm not going to define book. That doesn't make any sense. But there are some things that, I wish that I had a better grasp on when I first started off. Like, what is return on investment? How does print on demand work? And what are the terms associated with that? What are the terms associated with marketing? What are the terms associated with the legal profession that an author might need to know before they sign a publishing contract, right? So it's basically all of that. And I'm almost done, actually. I'm through the letter S, and I've only got, I think, a couple letters left, and it ends up being like a handful of definitions, and I've been able to get out a number of definitions every day. So that is going to be done here pretty soon. And so I think in May, I'll be able to get that edited and get a cover up. And I'll probably publish the ebook in paperback first. I want to try to record my own audiobook for this, but I understand that that's probably going to be a massive undertaking. So I'm probably just going to publish the book, and then the audiobook will come when it comes because I'm expecting that to be... I'm expecting that to be gargantuan, and I honestly don't know if it's something that I have the ability to take on or the skill level, but that is on the horizon. So I'll be done with that, and then I'll have to figure out what book I want to write next, which is exciting. And I'm going to end the podcast this week, but be sure to check out the Ask Ally Member podcast, and wish me well on the move, and I will plan on talking to you guys next week. Thanks a lot, and take care. Thanks for joining me this week. If you like this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaellaron.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaellaron.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and you want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.